Yeah. Crystal, do you hear us?
There you are. Thanks, guys. Sorry about that. Not sure what happened, but
I may have been talking too softly. I can take care of that.
Let's see if
John, can you hear us? John, you want mind? Can you hear us?
Okay.
He chatted.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, good. So we were talking about the work session. Group of 5 of us went up there and, the county commissioners, they have, well, $250,000 shortfall for this year. And they invited people to come up there and say, what have you done for me lately, basically? Looking for places to cut. So we talked a little bit about LCDC, some of the Port Authority. We touched on the KDOT, what we bring to the county with KDOT corridor. And they decided it was a session that warranted another visit, so we'd have more time to let them know everything that we're doing.
Are we supposed to do this before they make a decision, or have they made
I
a
certainly
decision?
hope so, because that's what the meeting was about, was a budget decision.
Right, but we had bigger issues than what just our funding is. I mean, it seems like it's 2 separate issues of funding going forward and then funding for this year, so.
I think-
I understand.
I think this one right now is just what they want to talk about is funding for this.
So we need to get
That's
it
my
pretty quick.
understanding.
On the counter.
Okay.
Well, and part of the conversation is, here's the funding for this year, and here's all the other things we're doing, including
Sure.
the future funding committee,
So
is what, how I took
the
it.
way we do it in the military, and I'm sorry, that's the way I approach it, when we got a shortfall, what's the results of taking the money away? Well, the results are you don't have anybody oversight of all these industrial areas. You don't have somebody that can afford to travel to see all of the prospective candidates. You may lose staff that supports her and she can't do everything.
Why are you pointing at me?
I'm just saying, I could easily point it in. But, you see what I'm saying? You want to tell them, if you cut us, A, B, C, D, and E are at risk. And do you want all of that gone? So, we've been through this before.
Yes.
Yep.
We have.
Been through
Do
this
you
before.
see any value, and this was discussed after the meeting, in having all someone to represent each of LCDC and the Port Authority, but also someone to represent each committee? And so it kind of shows the experience, in the private sector that's bringing what they're bringing to the table.
I would say the A team do the actual briefing, and if they've got a question in one of the committees, make sure that you've got somebody in the backup seats that can, add to it and expound on it. So I would say, absolutely, if they're looking for that much money, you want to defend every penny you've got.
I see everybody as the A team. I don't see A or B, but I see the point. Was there any discussion about replacing the economic developer position?
Yeah.
We had a little bit of discussion beforehand. I believe they're leaving that position open until, with the hope that he might come back, but that doesn't mean they've got enough going on. I don't think they're worried about assigning somebody else. Because I assume that's probably 150 at least, by the time you get benefits and everything. If they held off on filling that position.
I think we need to get it on the schedule and we can work out logistics, because if we wait too long, we're gonna miss budget.
Okay.
Absolutely. So we can debate how, but we can't wait too long. Right.
Okay.
We're finishing budget now, we're almost done at the city, and they gotta be close. If they're not done already, they just haven't told us.
Okay, so that will be, my next step is to get us on the schedule. And then once I get on the schedule, shall I just reach out or send an email to each of the board members and let them know? And then we can talk about a time to discuss before we go present. We've done LCDC. I mean, obviously I can talk on that. We'll just have to determine how long you wanna give me, because I could go on for a long time. And we have lots of presentations that we can pull from if we wanna do a PowerPoint at all. I know that can get kind of long and drawn out, but you'll just have to let me know.
But it all depends on how much time they give us.
That's true.
The work sessions that I've seen at the county will follow the regular meeting. They take about a 5-minute break, then they go into a work session. And the longest one I've seen is an hour.
Okay.
Shortest one I've seen is 15 minutes.
Now we'd have to come up with. I guess who all do we need? I mean, they wanna talk about funding and everything. They keep digging at us, is what are we doing to come up with future funding for ourselves? Everything, they'd like to know what we've, more about it. We suggested to them different things. And
Yes, glad you brought that up. They did ask about that specific, what about your future? What are you doing to be self-sustaining? What are your ideas?
reinforce the idea that the only. One of the things we have to offer is to sell lots that we have at a discount and everything, and they felt that we perhaps been suggested past weeks, don't do that. I said, well, we're not gonna move to fight off the various real estate agents in town and repeat the business. That's not what it takes away one of our incentives that we have to offer. So that's run out of option in that particular regard.
Then the thing that they discussed at that meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, is having a dedicated mill rate across the county that went directly to the Port Authority.
I think that came from our discussion with them, and I think they were surprised with 2 or 3 months ago that we had the ability to do that. The state's actually allows us to do that. And so they wanted to know where we were with that, and I said we weren't far enough along that we could offer it for the elections this year. But
And I provided them an update of what we were doing in writing
yes,
and said that we were waiting, to get through election season and everything. They all agreed with that, but
And I think one of the things they're up against is the 20th budget submission to the state.
even if we went for a mill rate election in spring of 25, I don't think you could start collecting until 26 maybe. I don't know if you can collect right.
Well, if you do mill rate, we vote on it like we said it in July. We lock it in November when the property assessments come in, and then it starts in January. Did not all of the funds come in immediately, it's gonna become like quarterly, right, they collected.
But if it went to an election, say it was voted on in March of 25, when would you actually start collecting the money?
The ad valorem, you would get almost immediately. All the road use taxes and the base upon the mill would come in the following year. That may be what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Depending on the category of the money, you get some of it immediately, and that's the ad valorem, strictly from the property taxes, stuff like that. And all the other stuff that's based upon the mill rate comes the following year. So in 26, you'll get what was collected in 25.
I didn't know if it wasn't established until 25, if you got 25s or not, or if you had to wait till 26.
I don't think you get 25s. The way, if you get billed, your billings and all go out for the whole year. Then you're gonna pay your second half in middle of the year of the next year.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna change your billing on that thing, I don't think they can.
Yeah.
So it would be the following year.
Because mill rate is already
I mean,
set.
Dan's right, it's how they send it out and you get it, it's straggling.
Because in November, they have to do the revenue neutral rate hearings with the public. And this is gonna be a new one, so it's automatically gonna be a rise for the county, which means they have to hold public hearings on the revenue neutral if you're not, even if you go revenue neutral, you still gotta have public hearings.
If the public votes for the mill, I don't think they have to add that into the,
Not if they put it on the,
if it's
if
voted,
voted on, they
it's
just
not a
not do that.
revenue neutral item, it becomes part of the thing.
well, we need the time, I believe, to educate the people who live in the county, so why we're doing it, what we're aiming for, why we're doing it. So they understand, nobody likes tax increase, but if we give them specific reason. So what we're doing with that money, and it's not gonna happen right away, I mean, we're only gonna get X number of dollars for that, it's gonna take us a lot longer than that to get the money we need to put the things we need done.
Yeah, I think if we could get a joint effort between the Port Authority and LCDC and whoever is on board, you guys are recommending LCDC to go and attend. And part of the conversation is specifically on the fundraising is that we've got it kind of scheduled for spring of 2025. Mail-in ballot, we're working on that, and other options, we have legal counsel, we're gonna talk about this, maybe we can take that off the agenda that legal counsel is working on to make sure we do it appropriately and correctly. And we've supplied him information to get us that information. But then also go back in that conversation is, right now, the county, people who live in the county are already funding this through money from the cities and from the county. So if you have a dedicated mill specifically, or some mill, the cities and the county can decide if they want to not fund that the way they're funding it now, because how much the cities give the LCDC, how much? And then they give the county how much, that's total, so it's coming out of taxpayer money anyways. So this is just dedicating the fund itself directly to economic development, not an annual whim of what whoever's elected. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a long game.
But we need to know all that data specifically, is how much we're already giving. I can tell you, we're basically at Tonganoxie is 20,000 and some change.
Base or elected.
That's a third of a mill for Tonganoxie already, not counting the county's portion, which the city of Tonganoxie taxpayers pay in county mill. So we're probably paying close to half anyways. It's just
County
not,
1,800s of a mill, because a mill in the county is worth $1 million.
yeah, so it's just not dedicated to economic development. So I think that's part of the conversation that we have to have, is that we're paying it anyways.
But I think that's one of those, I think. Biggest impact that I have when I discuss this with other people is, quite frankly, we've turned down or had to turn down opportunities of over 200 businesses in the last 4 or 5 years because we don't have buildings for them to occupy. Commissioner Cuthbertson's idea of letting them go downtown is not reasonable, not what we're looking for. So once people realize that that's what we want to resolve, they said, well, why can't we compete with Shawnee? Why can't we compete with Lenaxa? Why can't we compete with Lee Summit, whatever the case may be? Well, they fund their buildings. They build those industrial parks and they get the buildings up and the people occupy them, and then they pay the tax revenue. But it's gotta be done upfront. And we need to make sure that people that we take care of here in Leavenworth County understand that. They may not like the idea, but at least we pointed out to them, said this is why we can't compete. And there's a hell of a lot of people more than I am that sit here on this committee and attached to this committee that know more about that than I do.
I think if we get the schedule, we've got to get on the schedule before the budget hearing, get that done. To see what they want to know and be prepared to explain what we do and what else he does. They already know, but we need to get it with public record.
Is it fair to ask Lisa to give us the next time that works best for them, and we're just gonna work with whatever they say?
Please, we don't have much choice.
Yeah, I think it's, I guess where I'm going is, this doesn't need to be back and forth, you don't need to talk to us, just set the time that they want and we'll be there.
Okay.
Or enough of us, will, if we can, yeah.
If Lisa, you mentioned for the future funding about reaching out to Wichita State. Is there anything we could reach out to them right now as far as what have you done for us lately? That Wichita State could provide for the county commissioners rather quickly? I'm not exactly sure what I'm asking for, but
Well, I'm thinking like we could take Hills and give them just the capital. Yeah, I think we can. I'll have to see how long it will take them to get that information back to us. I'm not sure they can get back as quickly as we want, but you never know. Or are you thinking like something they've already done the research on that
I
maybe?
guess maybe I'm thinking of any development that we could possibly take credit for over the last 12 to 18 months. putting them in together and saying, hey, this has been the economic development we've done in the last 18 months. The number of jobs we've added, the number to the tax base, et cetera, et cetera. Looking at it in a whole, not necessarily a specific project.
Okay, so we keep track, if you look on my report, this may be, I'm just trying to understand,
Right.
trying to understand what you're saying.
And I don't know that I know what I'm saying, so.
Yeah, on the back of the
You're
report.
talking more of a spillover effects, right? Because we have jobs, we have capital investment, that type of thing, but are you asking for what does that actually mean for the county? Like, what is the estimate on what? So each one of those jobs is worth X amount of dollars, which means they're probably spending, 20% of that in our county on whatever. And so that multiplier that is what you're looking.
Not necessarily. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen one of the models Wichita State does. But they will show, okay, you're gonna have so much in tax increase, and maybe some of it is spillover too. But I guess I'm looking at, okay, you had, 10 million in new property that went on the tax rolls. And therefore that generates so much. You had 30 new jobs. I guess that would be part of the spillover too. There's 30 new jobs created so much. But I'm thinking of looking at more in total than in just
One
Hills.
specific project.
Right. Maybe Hills falls in that, I don't know. But there's been some development around Hills too.
Mhm.
Well, like you said, we had to pay for a road to get it, to get over there. and it's
Yeah.
like,
That was the cereal products element, wasn't it? What was
Cereal and greens.
cereal?
No, he
No.
was talking about hills, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
So Greg, what you're thinking is if we took 3, 4, 5 of what we landed, put them into one, almost make it look
Yes.
like one.
Yes,
This is
And ran
one
a model
business,
on
even though
that.
it's not one business, it's a
Just
combination
take
of.
3.
So I have 3 years of what we keep track of capital investment that has occurred because of we have facilitated somehow. So new capital investment.
That, it would do what Josh is saying, the same thing, I think. It would produce an output. That, I mean, the last one I looked at, it's been a while, but the last one would produce output that shows tax base and income from jobs and ancillary things that people spend money on in town. And if you can combine 5 or 6 or 7 projects, that would look like one project, but here's the
Yeah.
output.
I mean, it's kind of like on her sheet here where she
Yeah.
has the 3-year impact on 2023.
Mhm.
We added 105 jobs, 68 million in capital investment. What does the return on that generate for the county?
So I could use this impact right here, this
Yeah.
3-year model, and ask them what kind of impact, what kind of data we can get from them. Okay.
And you're talking
I'll
about,
let-
so I've seen these things where it's like, a dollar turns over so many times,
Yeah.
or what's the kind of,
That's what those models do show. They do show that.
Yeah,
I mean, they buy cars, they buy houses, they pay the bills, they eat.
Sales tax.
but that
So-
answers his question, what have you done for me lately?
Right.
This is what we did for you in 2023.
So the discussion we had, and I don't know yet, I will ask him. It was, more specifically to a particular project. So I'll ask him, giving these numbers to him for the last 3 years, our LCDC impact. What, if there are any data that we can obtain
Yeah.
from that?
I would vote that we authorize the expenditure, because that's good data, if they require it.
Yeah.
Pay for that.
Yeah.
I would offer a motion to fund up to $2,500 of a study that would assist, because that's data that this county needs to know. What are we producing?
Yeah.
What's it do in the long run?
Yeah.
is this regardless of the timeline?
Yeah.
I mean, if the study takes longer than our meeting
Schedule,
schedule.
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's
So-
data that we'll have to have long term.
Yeah,
So
Well,
Chris,
if we don't get it for the budget, we're gonna have it for the,
I mean,
yeah.
Mhm.
so you're
that-
voting
that-
authorize expenditure up to 2,500 for,
I think that should get us.
I think so.
for impact model,
I'd second that.
impact
All in
model for
favor?
Wichita State.
Aye. Any opposed?
Motion carries.
You got that, you're comfortable with what you have? Okay, good.
Is there any action on the work session? You said an action item. Do we have to vote on anything? Other than what we just did?
I don't think so, but I will go ahead and schedule that, and then I will communicate with Wichita State.
So we're gonna have everybody that's on Port Authority, plus Jeremy and, I don't know, who's the head of that search committee?
The visioning committee,
Yeah, Carl.
Harlan and Darren.
And Darren.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay,
and just tell Harlan, touch out.
And then what about
From.
the funding committee? You know, I'll be there, you'll,
I'll be there.
okay, so we got that covered. Is there anything else that,
Transportation, which, I mean, assuming I can make it, I'll be there. But I'll be quiet, because I'll say something I shouldn't.
So-
Get us all thrown out.
Probably.
Then you're the bouncer.
for LCDC, we have the infrastructure committee. I don't know if we need that, if we're gonna talk about transportation. We have the executive committee,
Do you think member or investor? committee?
investor.
I kind of think so, because at least it shows the involvement of the volunteers.
It was also
Which I think has always been a sale, to me, it's been a sales
a
pitch.
result of the future funding committee. I mean, we can, it's one of the things that LCDC has done to increase our,
We're doing something.
yes.
Yeah, you've done housing studies, you've done the transportation studies. We're doing the infrastructure study for all of this. We're looking at available plots that meet all the criteria. And this is all work that somebody's got to do, whether it's a city, county, or whatever. And Port Authority's doing it for them and providing it at no cost to the cities.
You know, some of them, they were surprised that we met with Senator Marshall. Kind of found out about it later, but they were surprised. We pushed the idea of transportation, especially north-south.
it's not just him, it's Colin's been here and I mean, there's several.
Yeah, I think Jeremy makes a very valid point. A lot of, almost all of us, short of our paid staff members here, are volunteers out of the community. So they're getting hell of a bang for their buck.
All in the private donations, all that would.
Mhm. For one of our presentations that we did for the Republican Town Hall, we calculated the number of financial experts, the number of developers
Realtors, builders, yeah.
that are on the board. So that was, I think, pretty impactful.
Even if you don't brief it, something you could hand to them and let them digest it. You don't have to talk to everything, but give them the data and then talk to what you need them to focus on.
Did they have a PowerPoint available?
Who?
At the.
They did it when we were there. Or did they?
They handed it out. They didn't.
No, but I mean, could we have a USB drive or a laptop
Yes.
plug in?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think we just have to submit it ahead of time.
okay.
The broad diversity of the people on these various committees is important because it covers a wide span.
Well, and I'm thinking things like when you're talking about the future land use thing, it's gonna be much easier to show, here's the map, here's the corridor, here's, and kind of walk them through the process.
I think if you know it ahead of time, like in the planning committee, they'll have a television facing you, like a screen monitor, and each of the people on the board have their own screen as well. So it's not a projection like what you've got here, but they will see it.
Okay.
We briefly touched on the idea that we were working with GIS, you were there,
Mhm.
and doing the overlays. You can actually show how far we've got with those overlays as far as available land. Okay, anything else said? No, okay. We're done action there, action item, we have voted on there or anything? Okay. Greg, you suggested you didn't have much to offer this time for the regional transportation plan update?
Just a little bit, and I'll let Lisa add to it. But we had a meeting, LCDC had their quarterly meeting, and they had representatives from KDOT, from KTA, from Leavenworth County, that talked about transportation. And probably a couple of the highlights from that, at least I took away, on the KDOT side, Centennial Bridge, they're looking at construction starting, putting out for bid fall of 26, 25. think it was 26. So it is in the design phase. They are working on that. That project obviously is going to happen. K5, as you know, that did reach the consult priority through the consult for the hike program. Some sort of improvement between K7 Lansing and 435. They have assigned the planning phase of that, I believe, to HNTB is who they thought had gotten it. That planning phase will probably take about 2 years. Once they do the planning phase, then they will start working on design. The design will probably include a NEPA survey, which is the environmental survey for the area that they're gonna do, looking at construction probably in 2031, 2032 on that. On the turnpike side, I inquired about a interchange at I-70 and 158, 163rd, 167th, somewhere in that area that would serve a north-south. And pretty much what they told us is we need to request a feasibility study to see if it's feasible to put an interchange there. Then we would probably have to fund the feasibility study. But if it turns out that it's feasible, I kind of took it that the turnpike might put it in themselves if they thought it was feasible. But the first step would be for a government agency, i.e. Baser or the county, to request from KTA a feasibility study and see what it's gonna cost. And I guess my hope was that once we got that number, then maybe we can get a group between the county, Baser, even Leavenworth and Lansing, and maybe the Port Authority to all contribute. Because that project would assist Leavenworth, would assist Lansing in a future north-south roadway that would put some relief onto K7. But he sounded very promising. I was a little surprised. But he says somebody's gonna ask us. So I was gonna reach out to Bill Knowles. How far does Baser city limits go? South of 2440.
I mean, they stretches all the way, they've got
I don't think it gets to.
they've got a bunch of island annexations south of 2440, and Crystal will correct me when I'm wrong, but somewhere south of McIntyre Road, I know that. This is something else. So we jump, I think the interchanges are, we got this, that's Baser, that's Baser.
So I think it would still be, that area is still gonna be in Leavenworth County.
Yeah.
So I probably need to get Bill Knoll to see if he can work on that and request that from Leavenworth County. And then get with Baser with the idea, hey, you guys are growing this way, it's gonna affect you in the future. But other than that, I don't know, was there anything else I missed, Lisa? Diana?
That's a good.
Very good, Josh.
Did I or misremember, or maybe I'm just making this up, that if they're short, like if you do a study and it's found that the toll collection would only fund 80%, that they would let the communities fill the gap? Am I remembering that?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, for the construction of the interchange. Yeah. Yeah, so if the interchange would only justify 80% the feasibility, then it's possible the communities could come up with the other 20%, which I think is what happened with the one in Tonganoxie. That I don't know, or Tonganoxie, Leavenworth County provided funding for County Road 1.
Yeah, Leavenworth County and Tonganoxie jointly paid for that.
Yeah.
We paid our last $500,000 last year on what we owed the city of.
Yeah.
But I think if we would get that comment, if we could find that study, because I think it far exceeded what the expectation was.
Yeah.
That interchange did.
And since they're going with the cashless toll too, it makes it easier to make the feasibility, I think, too.
And then the south connector coming out of DeSoto would make a big difference with the plant.
Yes.
the new plant, and I think we would. And really, Baser has to decide if they want to be involved in that. That's a Baser call, not mine, obviously, but
Right.
if we would all sign off on that, that would be a pretty nice connection, 158, 166, that
Somewhere in that area, I don't know.
just depends on what the road infrastructure is getting there.
Well, it's a countywide impact, because that would be the beginning of what we would consider the north-south thoroughfare to open up the western side of the county, would we not?
Exactly.
You know, that could extend all the way to Ashton, whatever you want to call it eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, it may be a dream, but you gotta start that dream somewhere.
And that's what the regional transportation study showed, was that.
Yeah,
That's how we ended up on the Earhart. We did all those studies. It was on the books, it was on the shelf, and they pulled it out, they found money, and it's there.
Yep.
So.
Anything else you can think
I
of?
can't think of anything else.
Anybody else? That's all I got then.
The Industrial Site Committee, we had a bit of that discussion earlier.
We don't have anybody here representing that. I would just say we're just kind of at a holding pattern until we get through that first. We've got to go through those maps. We just
Those maps,
haven't. I think I haven't.
There's a lot going on right now.
Yeah.
That's
But
why
I'll reach out.
we're doing a lot of nug work.
With Tom gone, will that affect our work with the GIS group? Because they did wonderful, I mean, the GIS folks provided stuff and.
No, we actually, Harlan and I went and met with one of their
Okay.
people and they've been very helpful.
Yeah.
So.
I think that if we could eventually get that overlay map, because we laid out a balanced plan, if we could have that available for the conversation with the commissioners, because that's so important.
Well, I think it might help too. Commissioner Sid keeps pushing the rail end idea,
Mhm.
and I realize that he worked for the railroad, or has a tie to the railroad. I think it would point out very clearly there's not opportunities there, I don't think, for rail end.
Yeah.
Okay. Panasonic impact? Anybody got anything new that we've not discussed?
Just having some project activity that seems to be because of that. So we're definitely seeing impact.
As Josh suggested, the spillover, if you Panasonic out there. Could this, we have an opportunity, is it on here? I don't think it was an agenda item, but a lot.
Yeah, it's an agenda
Yeah,
item.
it is.
Okay, I must be looking at the wrong one.
Where
Skip Lisa.
Did you skip the teacher? Oh, did I? I sure did, okay. All right, let's hand this over to Lisa then for the
Okay.
future funds. So.
Okay. So, this, I'm okay to do the projects and leads. We've had, it's been pretty active. It was kind of quiet in April and March and April. Sort of slowly picked up in May and is just really rolling quickly through June and July. Lots of activity. Which I'm surprised because we kind of expected it to slow down with this being an election year, but people are still maybe doing their investigative work. In July, we had, so with this report, we had 4 new projects. 3 of them are active. Project Neighborhood is a client looking for 300, more than 300 acres of a greenfield or a brownfield site for a battery recycling center. I think that's kind of, because of the Panasonic, we're seeing that kind of activity. So I'm working with utilities and Union Pacific to see if we have a site for this. So we're still in that process. Project Sport HQ headquarters, and I had to put in there that that's not the Chiefs, unfortunately. This is a national sport organization looking for 12,000 square feet facility where they can relocate their headquarters. Right now, they're just asking for data, and I'm looking to see if we have something. Project Sharp, the client looking for 15 to 30 acres that's within a disadvantaged community area. These are designated areas for a battery recycling center. And I'm working with the cities of Leavenworth, Lansing, and a private owner to see if we have something to submit for that. And then Project Switch, this was something I did not submit for. They were looking for 30,000 to 100,000 square foot existing building for the production and sales operation. So I just reported that in our chart. And on to the ongoing projects. I see that I forgot to count up and put how many are active. I won't take the time and do that. I would say that the only project I have new information on right now is Project Transport, and that's one of our agenda items that we will talk about. I'm looking for it on our agenda. Is that on there?
Yes, it's under
It's
your
underneath
report,
your-
project transport.
Okay, good. We'll talk about that.
Action item.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Unless you have questions, I'll just move on to the couple things for the rest of my report. Okay. So obviously budget season, we've attended the budget hearings for the city of Leavenworth and for the city of Tonganoxie. Also, as you guys discussed on behalf of the Port Authority, we attended that budget hearing with the county. And then Lansing's, I can't remember, you told me September 5th, we'll be attending that one. Let's see. Oh, and then I would report that on Friday, Jeremy and Diana and I met with Baser City Council member Vicky McEnroe. That she made it very clear she was not meeting as a representative of the council. She just wanted to kind of get a little bit of information on what happened and with the, funding and basically what is that LCDC does and how they contribute to the city of Baser. I think it was a positive meeting. I don't think it's gonna affect any change in this year at all. She did indicate that Baser did not say they wouldn't consider funding for next year, so we'll discuss that in the future. But I think it was a positive meeting and opened up some communication that we didn't have before, so. KEDA, as I told you, I was voted on to that board. That is the state's professional organization, Kansas Economic Development Alliance. I have my first board meeting today at 1:30, so I'll be scooting out. I'm excited to be on that board and to represent Leavenworth County and be an advocate for that. Marketing events. Last week I went to a Team Kansas trip that was in Indiana. Jeff Freeman, he's the business recruitment manager for the Great Lakes area. And he put together a nice event where over 10 site selectors were there. We had a couple of suites at the Indiana Fever game. So that was really cool to see Caitlin Clark, but I got a lot of time. I didn't really get to see her play that much because it was just constant networking. So I got a lot of contacts, and I'll be emailing them follow-up information and sending information about our community. And so that was last week. The next Team Kansas event will be a FAM tour where they will invite site selectors to come out here to Kansas, and they'll take them around the state of Kansas and show them what they benefit from if they were here or if their clients were here. I'll be attending a Sporting KC game on this coming Saturday, Bartlett and West. One of our Darren Ammon has invited me to go to this, so I'll see some other developers there. I see that as a continuing marketing event. And KCADC's Network at the K, they do this every year where they invite a lot of realtors and site selectors that are basically around the Kansas City area. And then we go to the network, to the Kauffman Stadium for a game, and we network there. And then I just signed up for a conference that I'll go to in December. Area Development is putting this one on, and it's another conference where they'll invite site selectors and developers. So looking forward to that. I think that is my report. That's okay.
Yeah, we wanted to.
Did you have a question?
Project Transport. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll move on to that. Okay, so Mary, I'm gonna pull that up. And in the board members in your packets, you have a letter. I tried to make sure you had some time to review it. I know you just got it yesterday. This is a gentleman who I think they can look at the letter in their packet. Just at the what did I call them? The two other attachments, so we can look at the building plans and the pictures. That would be good. Hopefully you've had a chance. And since Vernon didn't show up, let me go ahead and, well, no, he's got, we can look at it online. Okay, so Brady Croucher is my contact, and he is from Croucher and Associates. He is interested in two properties in the Urban Hess Business Center, and I should have pulled that up, but maybe I can show you. Is that the Urban Hess right there? If you know where DL Granite and Design is located, let me just get it out to you. It's the two properties just north of that.
Maybe we discussed this last time.
Yeah, right here. So DL Granite and Design is here, and then these are the two properties that he's interested in. And if you see the picture up on the screen, it's a pretty long building. I have to look at the numbers again. Anyway, it's got several bay doors. This will be he will build the building, and then his partner company, Wex, and I wrote down what that stood for. They would store and distribute cable. They would be selling to companies like Black and Beach, Burns and Mac. And so that's kind of the general idea. He is asking if you would consider selling those two properties to him. And he's also asking if you would consider discounting that. And in the letter, I have explained, so it's a 60-foot by 415-foot building. 3 to 8 jobs. Of course, he has lots of plans for growth and development, but I felt like it was really important just to focus on what we're talking about in the first few years. 3 to 8 new jobs, including sales associate, management, and warehouse workers. Hourly wages between $20 and $30 an hour, salaries between $40,000 and $60,000. It will just be a Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Truck traffic will include 2 to 4 trucks per week to deliver products and materials.
Now, you talked about discounting the cost of the 40,000 per acre. What is the current cost?
40,000.
So he's wanting something less than 40,000,
If possible.
and not knowing what the cost was, I didn't know whether you wanted acre 40,000 off.
That's the one thing that I did not get. I don't remember.
I think it's like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So you can see where I am.
or 40,000 per acre.
It says per acre.
Is it hang
Right.
on, it doesn't say. It may not say acres, it may
So
say.
Greg, would you put $150 foot on that building? For Jeremy or?
Okay, here we go. I can tell you
That's
the acreage.
Condition.
So lot 4 is 3.628 acres. And then lot 3 is 3.078 acres.
So what's the total on
A
that?
little over 7.5 acres.
But there's a big chunk of that northern lot that's not usable
Yeah.
because it is water, retention, not detention. It holds water if it does flood and releases it.
So,
We've had that conversation.
yeah, well, I mean, about a year ago where someone was looking at, that other steel fabrication company was looking at buying one of the northernmost lots. And there's only one, isn't there a shared access to get to those
Yeah.
2 lots?
Yeah.
Is there any situation where it's better for us to discount the 2 northern lots?
Like this,
No, what, isn't the one next to it available?
these two then.
No, right along the highway there.
Yeah, so kind of oriented along the highway, just because since we only have one access.
There's also main power lines coming in.
Well, that's what I don't know, you
And
know,
there's the gas and then a very big ditch and culvert right here.
my, cause here's 450 feet, so it's like, could you put the building here? But now that I see all the
Yeah,
utilities.
you can. There's a water that drains about 1,100 or 1,200 acres to the northwest. That pretty good sized culvert that runs directly through there into another set of culverts. I've been out there 500, so I'm pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And that circle looking thing at the very north end, that is about 8 to 10 foot deep.
Oh, right here.
And it has a storm outlet that runs back into the subdivision, which I'm pretty familiar with too, to the east. So it you just can't mess with it. It's there for a reason.
And there's a gas line up here, right?
Yep, there are gas and power lines, three-phase comes in from, Free State through there.
So given, if I'm adding everything up, you suggesting of the two lots he's asking for, he's probably gonna lose a half acre there? Or more?
Well, I don't think it'd be quite a half, but it's gonna be easy 20,000 feet. I mean, it's, cause it goes straight down to the bottom.
But what is the existing price on those two? Do we have?
Just 40,000 acres, what's been identified.
Seven, would you say 7 point something?
6.7.
6.7.
So 240,000 and 200, that's all right for purposes.
268.
280,000, something like that, plus or minus.
What have we done in the past as far as discounts for some of the other lots in there last year?
I remember one was 60, I think the most recent that I had anything to do with, was 16,000 for,
Sold it for 16,000 or
Mhm.
discounted it for 16,000?
sold it for 16,000, because I was the one that did that.
Then
I would have to go back and
It's
look
the
at what
granite one, wasn't it?
deal, sorry?
It's that one there, yeah.
Yes. So 16,000 for 1.537 acres. So basically,
So he's not storing, I mean, obviously he's gonna store it there, but it's not just a warehouse, he's actually selling them out of the building. So it will be a sales tax
yes.
income.
Good question. I would need to, I should have
It's
thought.
probably
about
for
that.
sale and probably.
Well, or it's a bunch of taxes and work. I mean, if you're doing anything for a city or county,
I would have the tax exempt, you're right. What price would you put on that, Jeremy, 100?
well, probably, I mean, not knowing anything about it, you know, if you're not conditioning these spaces and if you're building it for, I mean, it looks like they've got some columns in there. It's not like it's a really tall distribution, I'm like 100.
Well, the capital investment,
Excuse me, the other thing I was wondering is it says, I am proposing to build, does that mean he's planning on building?
Yeah, he's gonna lease it out.
But it's not something that's gonna be a heavy manufacturing that would, before you were worried about pissing off the subdivision to the east there. I think this is something that would be community friendly and,
yeah, George hadn't weighed in yet, has he?
He has. Actually, they've had a development meeting, a pre-development meeting,
Okay.
excuse me. And I asked him today if he would be coming. He's had some power issues too. And so he said in the pre-development meeting, I think was happened when he was, out of town. But he understands the project has had a pre-development meeting and a path forward that's been identified. So, I think unless he finds in another, some reason at this point with what information he has, it sounds like he's positive.
Well, the capital investment, $2.5 million capital investment, probably, I mean, you don't know that number. And 8 jobs is not bad.
Mary? Is that chat? Is someone?
No, that's old.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Those
old.
crystals
Yeah.
in the beginning.
How quick do they need a decision?
He didn't indicate how quick.
There's a couple things that George would already deal with them, I mean, I'm not for sure, there's maybe something in that between the two lots. They'd have to have these, setbacks, not
Mhm.
setbacks and utility easements abandoned, which is not a big deal if there's nothing in it. I don't think anybody would complain about it. But
I
there
think-
may be something in that utility easement. I'll go by and look on the way home.
And I think he's considering, spanning the building across the line.
Right, so
So
that
that
lot
would
would have,
be-
the lot line would have to go away, he'd have to replat that.
Is lot 4, Urban Hess number 3, is that be the bottom right one? Is that available?
I'm sorry, I should have put that.
This is lot 4 is where D.O. Granite is.
Okay, all right.
So this is vacant, that's vacant, that's vacant, that. Let's see.
guess I'm wondering too, is this one that, should we run this through Wichita Model and see? Do we have time?
Yeah, cause he's not asking for a tax abatement, but
Mhm.
he's asking for a discount on land value, and it probably, I mean, it'd give you an idea of what the value is.
Well, he's not asking for a tax abatement.
Right.
But, I mean, if it was me and I wanted to be sneaky about it, I would also not ask for a tax abatement because the tax abatement's already on the books. I'd negotiate this and then hand in my tax abatement because it's already a policy.
You could do some clawbacks, I mean,
You'd wanna, if you're worried about them doing the tax abatement, make sure that that's part of the, negotiation. But, I wouldn't assume that just because he hasn't brought it up, that he doesn't know it's there. I mean, Dan, yours in City of Lansing, what, one pager? Two pager, it's not difficult, and it's on the statutory. I just don't wanna get anyone to think it's surprised.
If you don't mention it, don't make any assumptions.
Yeah.
So I agree with Greg that it wouldn't hurt to run a model through instead of $1,000 to see what it looks like. Cause he's not asking for a tax abatement yet, but if he does, I mean, that they can factor that into that calculation.
And I don't know what he gets if it's going for green energy either.
Yeah.
If there's some abatements already in place.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be from the city or county, would it?
Or the state of the Fed.
It would be a state
Federal.
or federal.
So we're raising up questions, we obviously can't vote on it today, we need to be cognizant of time and our ability to get to our affiliated partners here. But I think we need to ask those questions of him. With regard to, is he selling things out of that, what is the taxes and things like that? If we know the whole tax situation associated with that.
okay, so I need to find out, is he selling his products out of that particular building? Does that mean there will be some sales tax revenue? And then also, you might need to vote to give me approval to seek out a Wichita State impact model up to. I
Like
think
you said, $1,000 is
Yeah.
the charge.
I say with maybe up to, I don't know, 1,200 or something. Just so in case there's,
Make that motion.
Okay, motion to what now?
1,500 to approve.
Approve
To-
up to 1,500. For. Impact model for
I think that might be helpful.
Project transport.
So that.
impact model for project transport.
So the last sentence of the second paragraph says that the leasing company, WEX, will sell and distribute the cable to companies nationally. The WEX is going to lease the building from him, from Croucher and Associates.
That's materials, sales tax exempt.
Yeah.
Who made the second of that?
Oh, no, they delivered or do they pick them up?
Yeah. Leavenworth County getting sales tax off that IE.
Yeah, I think that's the question, is the Leavenworth.
If they deliver them to Ulysses, Kansas, then sales tax is charged where you take
Delivered.
possession.
Yeah,
So they would pay sales tax to Ulysses, Kansas.
from my perspective, from the city of Tallanoxie, I mean, it fits the model of what's out there. It's all metal buildings, it fits the model, it pretty seems to be harmless. I don't think Dan Lungo's having any trouble with the neighbors that I know of. I talk to him once a week.
I just know there was concerns with that when we talked about, there was a metal fab company that was putting stuff up.
So I don't, that appears to be just a kind of a distribution type center.
Yeah.
So George would have to run it through his normal stuff, but I for one think it fits.
Yeah,
So-
I think we're interested, at least I'm interested.
Yeah, and I would
So-
say that's why we want to leave, we are
Yeah.
interested.
okay,
But since we're public utility or a public entity, we need to do due diligence to make sure
Okay.
we're doing it correctly and.
I guess if he needs a decision quick or something, if we need to have a special meeting or something, move forward quicker, we can do that. I'd be in favor of that too.
And what,
We're gonna Zoom.
can he give us the amount, what he expects the building to cost? what Jeremy's saying, depends on what's in there, that building could be $250 a foot or $85 a foot.
Yeah. Correct, Jeremy, I doubt that it's gonna be heated.
Right.
If you're storing that type of material in.
Yeah. Probably very minimal office for 3 to 8 people, so you're in, inside.
So although you have not voted on any of this, you're interested in selling, but probably
We need more
If-
information.
you need more information to decide whether or not
Decide the discount.
discount. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, the idea of selling it to them, I don't think we have a problem with that. Whether they get, what's he want?
As much as he can get, I would say.
I'm sure.
Make us an offer.
Well, and that's kind of the trade-off, is that if you're willing to pay full property taxes immediately, then the discount, I think, becomes much bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's a pretty good chunk of change coming in.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to be able to have that conversation with the county commission, say, hey, here's, you know, $2 million building, full property taxes.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, speaking of time, let them know. I don't think we have anything to vote on here. I believe, Greg, did you want to offer something today?
Just the resignation as chairman. Yeah, that I need to submit my resignation as chairman for the future funding committee. Just due to some personal reasons.
Thank you for your time and service.
Thank you.
What you missed.
Thank you.
We probably not let you get away that easily.
That's okay. I'll still help out. I just can't be chair. I just don't want to be chairman right now.
I guess at a later date, we'll talk about it, when the chairman or somebody taking over your role. Hopefully you can help us find that person, the right person for that. Having said that, let's move on to our affiliated.
Paybacks without.
Yeah. Chris, do you want to go to the bathroom real quick?
You can leave that to that door.
Yeah, I know how this works, so, having said that, let's reach out to our affiliated partners. Josh, you're sitting here. Anything you'd like to share?
Good, thank you.
Crystal, you're on, been there for a while. Anything you'd like to add?
Hi, yeah, just kind of the same, I hate to say same old stuff, but kind of the same old stuff here at the city of Baser, and I've actually running 3 minutes late for another meeting, so I'm gonna hop off here. Thanks, have a great day.
Sorry, we didn't get to you quicker. John?
Yeah, it was good.
Anybody there? Anybody there that we missed?
Whole crowd today.
Okay, I'm only 2 minutes late, gang, sorry. Meeting adjourned.
Can you send me this one? Somebody gets kind of the keys.
Yeah.
They don't bother.
I'd like to share that with you.
Master record.